hey, Chris, it's great to catch up with you. I have really, really, really enjoyed this album. I am still an old CD guy, so I get in the car, it goes in the chamber, and the world just whirls around me, and I dig it. So it's good. It's a wonderful listen.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So I guess in rotation is perfect. There's so many things that come into my mind when I hear new music from you, and I think about what you're doing with the ensemble of musicians that you're pulling together, what your ultimate mission is. And I feel like, and we've talked about this before, the fact that you're really shining a light on the Kansas City music scene and all these cats when you put these albums out. It's really like elevating the Kansas City music scene. What's your philosophy when you pick all of the players like on this album with Peter and with Brett and with everybody that you're picking? What is that philosophy for you?
I mean, it's purely I'm trying to pick the people that inspire me to play to my best. And by all means, Brett and I have been collaborating for 15 plus years in various projects. Kiz and I have been, we've been playing together for a long time. Peter and I have off and on played together for, quite a while. We've known each other and been friends for a very long time, but this is the first time that we really have like created something together. And, you know, this all came about by just the four of us kind of randomly being on a gig together. And we're like, well, there's really something here. And, we just we liked the sound. We're like, this is kind of a distinct, different thing than like your normal organ group kind of thing. Replacing kind of the guitar slot with vibraphone. And then, really it was a case of I was like, I have to set myself a deadline if I'm going to get another album out soon. So I just booked the studio and booked the guys and said, okay, this is when it's happening. And we got together for a rehearsal, picked some material that really kind of accentuated like the textural exploration of organ and vibraphone together. And also, we this album has some time things that have not been on previous records of mine, with some things in other time signatures and things like that. So, I just wanted to be a little bit more adventurous while still being true to who I am as an artist. But yeah, it's really I picked those guys because they just inspire me.
And when I think about the typical lineup on an album, it's like the organ adds a wonderful sheen to the existing sound, or the vibraphone does. But when you get both of them together, it's like the ultimate sauce and pickle. You just don't hear that as much. Did that, when you were in the studio doing it, did it strike you as something that was just very velvety and different?
Absolutely. Even in the rehearsal before we went into the studio, so Peter had just at this time he just bought this set of vibes from somebody that's a 1940s Deegan vibraharp, and he wasn't intending on bringing it to the recording. We were just using it in rehearsal, and the more he played it, it was like, oh my gosh, this instrument is special. Like we need this on the record. And there's a very fine line. Organ and vibes can kind of take up the same space. So we were pretty intentional on like making sure that our textures and things were not getting in the way of each other. Um, but I mean, you'll hear on the record. I mean, there's times where like the Leslie of the organ is stopped while the vibraphone is going, crazy vibrato, and vice versa. There's times where the Leslie's in chorale mode, going slow, and the vibraphones are stopped, and things like that. I mean, so and there's also times where the organ's playing more sustained legato things while the vibes are playing more kind of percussively, and vice versa. So it's just a kind of a give and take between the two of us in that space.
I get so many of these CDs in the mail, and every time I get albums and I really look at the song titles, I think about when the album is out. Like right now, we're on the cusp of real warm months in summer, and I see summer in Central Park, and then I see, a flower is a lovesome thing, and I see these titles. Do you pick that based on the theme and the season that we're in and when it's getting released? Is that accidental or is that choreographed?
It was both. I mean, the tunes were picked because I thought they fit the vibe of the group well.
Yeah.
But the more and more I kind of assembled the tunes and thought about kind of the direction we were going with the record as a whole, In Rotation as a title has multiple meanings. Well, one being seasonal. We kind of are in rotation. There's summer in Central Park. There's Flowers of Love, something that I find to be kind of a springtime thing. There's a tune, original of mine, that has been kind of in the can for almost 15 years, called First Snow. So, there's kind of a seasonal aspect to the tunes and the textures. But then the other, like, kind of hidden meaning behind In Rotation is that, the Leslie speaker spins, the vibraphone resonator spin, the tone generator within the organ spins. And then when you put Brett Jackson in front, his head's spinning. So,
Well, and that's the way the album cover looks, because it looks like a
right.
scientific equation, but it's really about the rotation of all of the minds and instruments coming together, kind of making this sound.
Exactly. And then the other, not so subtle aspect of the title is we're hoping that lots of radio stations put it in rotation.
Right, the subliminal thing. So, talk to me a little bit about what are you guys going to do as far as promotion for this? Do you have a kickoff? Are you guys going to get together specifically to play this live? How's that going to materialize?
Yeah, and I don't know when the show here is airing, but we're doing a release show at the Blue Room this Friday, May 15th.
Okay.
We'll have plenty of copies for sale there. We'll be playing all the music from the record there, maybe taking some twists and turns on it. And then we've got a few more over the summer. We've got a show at the 1909 Club in Lee's Summit in June. We have a show at the Ship at the end of June. And then the hope is to hopefully book some out of town things and get kind of promoting it on the road a little bit too over the summer.
You know, you were one of the first interviews that I ever did on Neon Jazz for a Kansas City musician. I think it was Peregrine Nation, correct?
Wow, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, I don't want to get into our age here, but it's like I feel like there's a part of you that's like a metaphor for a wine in a barrel, along with all the musicians in town. It just seems like it keeps getting better and better. The wield of influence, the exposure to Kansas City and all the wonderful people that are a part of this jazz community continues to radiate out. Has that been something that's been a part of your mindset with each of your successive releases? Is the vault more of this community that you obviously know is very rich and talented out to the greater part of the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been blessed and fortunate to have had the opportunity to travel a lot in the last few years and play with people from other cities and different parts of the world. Every time I come back home, I hear the people that are playing, and it's like, man, we have absolutely world class musicians here. And if I can do some small part in raising other people and the scene up as a whole, man, I will do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. The one thing too that I've been asking musicians lately, and I don't want it to get overly political, but in America right now, there's a lot of stress. Anytime a country goes to war, anytime the fabric of our community, which is immigration, is something that becomes problematic. People need music and art more than ever these days. They want to go to a show. They want to just bathe in that music and that glow. Are you thinking about that more and more now as you get out and you're active in the community, putting music out there? You have a new album coming out. Is that something that's in your frontal lobe as you're a part of this music organism?
Music is the escape from all that for me. So, yeah, if it helps somebody's life be a little bit easier, then man, that's what we do it for.
Yeah, for sure. So I caught you with Cory Weeds at the Westport Coffee House this winter, which was a complete thrill to see that incarnation. But also, Huey Lewis in the News, it's another project. I have to know what's going on with that. Can we talk about it? Is it something you can put out there?
I can talk about it. It's man, shoot. I wish I had one within arm's reach. Hold on, just
Yeah,
one
yeah,
second.
yeah. You got it.
Yeah, I'm probably breaking the rules because this is not out until October.
Okay.
But the first single is dropping, I think, the first week of June.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh,
here it is.
dude, that is so
Hip to be square.
Awesome. I love it. And the story, tell me the story. Oh man, that is so cool. So the story on stage that was told is glorious. Tell me the story about how Huey Lewis between you and Cory Weeds became this thing you're holding in your hands right now.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I mean, he and I have been friends for a long time, and dating back to even before either of us remember. Actually, we met each other in New York, and neither of us had remembered that. But I heard his record called "The Many Deeds of Cory Weeds" on Kansas Public Radio, and I just sent him a Facebook message. It was like, "Hey, man, I love the record. You know, I feel like we have very similar tastes. If you ever want to come out to Kansas City, I'll try and throw some gigs together, and I'd love to play with you." And he was like, "Yeah, I've got some air miles. I'll come out." And so I strung together, a week, about a half week's worth of gigs, the last of which was in St. Louis. And so, in order to transport my Hammond B-3, at that time I was borrowing my dad's minivan, and we're on the road to St. Louis. And for whatever reason, my dad's minivan had one CD stuck in the player, and that was Huey Lewis and the News' Greatest Hits. And so, on a 4 hour drive from KC to St. Louis, we listened to that greatest hits record probably three times through. And on about the second time through, both of us kind of like, this is some hip stuff. Like, I bet this could be a sweet, greasy organ record if we applied ourselves to it. And we joked about it for years, and we laughed about it. And then right around 2019 or so, I was in Vancouver visiting him. And he was like, "We should really do this, man. Like, we should stop joking about it and really like do the Huey Lewis thing." And so I was like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And then like probably a month later, he's like, "Nah, this is the dumbest idea I've ever had. Let's not do that." And so this went on and on, probably four or five times. That he'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it," and he'd be like, "No, this is dumb. Let's not do this." Finally, like I was on the road in 2024 with the James Hunter Six. We were opening up for Bonnie Raitt all over the U.S. And without going into great detail, the tenor sax player that was in that band had to leave the tour. And we're in Portland, and I'm like, I bet my buddy Cory could come fill in. And so he could. He had the week free. He flew down to Portland. I pick him up from the airport. The first thing we do is we go to the record store in Portland. We're just sifting through records, just shooting the breeze. And we're talking like, yeah, we should do the Huey Lewis thing. That'd be funny. And then I kid you not, like clockwork, we're standing there hanging out. An employee of the store walks by and plops down right next to us like 35 copies of Sports,
Wow.
Huey Lewis and the News Sports. There's picture proof. And we're like, this is a sign. This
Yep.
has to happen now. And so we got it together. I arranged all the music of, I think it's 7 tunes by Huey Lewis and the News. Arranged for organ quartet, and then we did a tour on it last November. Recorded it at the end in Vancouver, and now we got a record, and it's a really great pressing. It's a 180-gram vinyl
Oh yeah.
double record. So I guess part of this is Cory is very much funded by the Canadian government, and they weren't real keen on the Huey Lewis idea. So it's 2 records in one. We've got the Huey Lewis side, which is the first record. And then it's a double record. The other record is some originals and some standards and things like that that also were being played on the tour.
Right on. That is so
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get that in my collection. I'll look for those coming out. So again, in rotation is the wonderful new album, and I'm a jazz lover, but there's something always special about your albums, the history of talking to you on the show, the Kansas City scene, and I can't implore everyone enough to go out, get this album, pick it up, support live music. So with that being said, Friday you'll be at the Blue Room, but if anybody wants to download, get a copy, I really advocate Bandcamp or whatever means other than streaming, because we know the row with that. So where's the
Oh
best
yeah.
place to go?
Yeah. Bandcamp.
Okay.
I believe it's just chrishazelton.bandcamp.com. I think.
Okay. I'll modify that and put it in the show notes.
Okay, great.
We'll fix that. But Chris, it's always so. Not only it's wonderful to get an album unexpectedly in the mail and to talk to you about it, but I see you live. I love what you're doing for the scene. It's always a joy, and your music infuses every room with joy, and it's the etymology of why I've always loved jazz. So it's always an honor and pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Best of luck on the release Friday and beyond, and I'm sure I'll run into you out there at some point.
Sounds good, Joe. Thanks so much, man.
Yes, sir.
Great to chat with you.
Absolutely, man. And
Neon Jazz.